Former Vice President and Director of Education, that would be Ms. Margaret Lanzetta. Ms. Lanzetta, welcome. Is Ms. McBride in the room? No. Okay. Our President is also in attendance today. And before I begin, if everyone would just remember to power off your cell phones, that would be terrific. Thank you, Aldo. Our two guests of honor today are devoted to promoting human rights initiatives in their own communities and in communities around the globe. And both are also here to help us mark International Women's Week. In 1988, when Suraya Pakzad founded Voices of Women, the Taliban controlled the Afghan government, and life was particularly brutal for girls and women. Girls were not permitted to attend school, and women were not permitted to work outside their homes. And neither were permitted to step outside their homes, onto the street, onto a bus, into a shop, unless they were accompanied by a male relative. And while the Taliban government fell, as most of you know, in 2001, life for many Afghan girls and women continues to be cruel and isolating. But it was during the Taliban's oppressive reign that Ms. Pakzad first began to organize girls and young women with the simple and powerful goal of teaching them to read. In deep secrecy, this mother of six started one of the first organizations in Afghanistan, and it was dedicated to helping Afghan women achieve equality and human dignity in their own country. Today, Voices of Women has reached beyond its original mission of teaching literacy, and now includes building shelters for abused women, as well as investing in microfinancing projects and other programs designed to reduce poverty through educational and economic achievement. For the courage of her conviction, in 2008, Ms. Pakzad was honored with the U.S. State Department's Award for International Courage. Ms. Pakzad, it is truly a privilege to have you here today. Thank you. Joining Ms. Pakzad today is Aldo Magazzeni, a humanitarian, businessman, photographer, and founder of Traveling Mercies, an international organization committed to providing clean water systems, shelter, and other vital community projects to villages around the world. How many students here today are doing Model UN? How many are sitting on the committee that's looking into access to freshwater resources? So some of you have already begun to examine how vital this resource is to all human activities and what important work Mr. Magazzeni is doing around the globe. I'm going to invite Mr. Magazzeni to come to the podium for a few minutes to talk a little bit more about the partnership he has forged with Ms. Pakzad in service of their shared commitment to promoting human rights in Afghanistan. Mr. Pakzad?
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here at the World Affairs Council. Thanks to Claudia and everyone else that put up with the 100 phone calls I must have made here to make sure we kind of got this all straight. Thank you. It is a pleasure because, you know, it's a council, and what's wonderful when I talk to Suraya about this is that it's a place where everyone is invited to speak, to listen, and to begin to feel what is the condition of the world. So I believe that when we get young students and we get some of the elders and some of the ones that are already activists in the world, we get a chance for all of us to learn from each other. For me, my relationship with Suraya began in 2004. I went to Afghanistan completely alone because I had reached a point when the Iraqi war started that I felt as if another great disaster was going to happen to many, many people. And in wanting to protest or get angry at that, when I was in Tibet at the time, near Bhutan, a good friend said to me, you know, we always forget the victims of the last war, and it's the ones that are left behind in this world that we need to go back and make friends with. They're the ones that we need to help. and such as the ones in Afghanistan, who we went in for some good reasons and now we've left them and they have no idea who their friends are and things are only going to get worse. And although I've been working a lot in countries like Haiti and Mexico and other countries, I decided that this was not only an issue about poverty, but it was also an issue for world peace. And so I went to Afghanistan on my own because I felt that that would be the best place to go and create relationships. I was always encouraged by people who had studied and enjoyed, and now some of their words were making sense, like Tolstoy, who said that one of the things in life that we can best apply ourselves to is to share love among people by trying to bring the barriers down that separate cultures. And I felt that that was a calling to do some of that. So I did, and when I went, I began to have relationships with people, and in those relationships I wanted to see what would be asked that I could participate in to make their lives better. And the relationships developed, and one of the relationships that developed was with Suraya, and the other relationship that developed was with many Afghan people, villages and communities, and I learned and respected what they really needed, which was water systems. And I learned how to build water systems. I had experience in building and construction, but I will say one thing to all of you here, that you have so many skills, and you've been blessed so incredibly, in such a great way, already in your lives, that your skills are amazing, and you have already come to a place where you can be leaders in this world, to do things as you choose that you need to experience your life. In my case, I've gone through a lot of experiences, some personal, business, where I learned, I did community service work, but ultimately it all came together, and where I thought that I could apply my services. So I spent many years in Afghanistan. I worked with Suraya. We built water systems together, about 10 systems that served about 80, 90,000 people, jails, women jails that didn't have water. And worked in other countries also, like Africa, and built self-sustaining villages. So please, to all of the young, it's an exciting world out there, but it's one that is suffering and one that needs your leadership. Be patient with yourselves. May seem like it's taken a while to get there, but keep counseling, especially with yourselves, but mostly with respect the elders in your life, because they have incredible stories, and they've experienced much, and they have much wisdom to pass on to you. Which brings me to one person who has a lot of wisdom to pass on, and also a lot of personal stories about the warriorship life that she's living. And I will say that it doesn't come easy. She has 6 children, she has a home, she has a staff, she does a lot in her life, but she continues to respond to what she feels inside, which is a calling to go beyond that for the whole good of an issue. In her case, it's the equal rights of women and those that are suffering in Afghanistan. So there is room in your lives to just not achieve your own personal goals. There is even one that goes beyond that, and that's to achieve a personal goal for the whole. Suraya is a great example of that. She'll tell you her story about her life, some happy times, some difficult times, but in the end, we all must remember she's doing a great job. She puts herself out there. Sometimes we worry about her. She takes on some pretty big issues, so we always have to remember her with our best wishes and prayers and safety for herself and her family too. So welcome all of our friends now. Suraya Pakzad.
Thanks, Aldo. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very grateful and honored to be here and in World Affairs Council of Philadelphia. We need to raise our voices here. There's a good opportunity to raise the voices of Afghan women unfortunately, who is still, after 7 years, international community presence in Afghanistan, is still suffering from the basic right. They don't have access to their basic right. Being here is a good opportunity to tell you about why I'm here. The reason that I'm here is 2 reasons. The first, being as a women activist and being as an executive director of Voice of Women organization in Afghanistan, I think that it's my duty to raise the voices of Afghan women in any opportunity, when I have any opportunity and when I'm in any country, to share our voices and to tell the story that how still we are struggle for our to have access for the basic right. And that's the reason. The second reason is to tell you about the partnership of Voice of Women organization and Afghan women organization with Traveling Mercies, with Aldo Magazzeni. We are how we create this partnership and how we would like to change and improve the life of women and children in Afghanistan, because Voice of Women seeks to improve the condition of women in Afghanistan by promoting their human rights, women's rights, through providing them legal and social assistance and services to them. And Traveling Mercies seeks to improve the condition of people of different countries, include Afghanistan. Has Traveling Mercy tried to build up water system, and definitely the water system providing safe water is the women and children, particularly the girls and women, are benefited from this project directly, because women are responsible to provide water in the area that they are living with no access to safe water. They have to provide water. They have to walk like 1 hour a day to provide water, to bring water to home and family. And girls and women are the first group of received benefit from this from water project. That's why we have this partnership together. Voice of Women doesn't have any office currently here in Philadelphia, but that's my dream. One day we should have a supporting office here in Philadelphia, by support of the very, very wonderful people and the committed and the open-hearted people that they're showing their willingness that they will help us to open an office over here in Philadelphia. But at the moment we are in close relationship with Traveling Mercies, and we are both together try to improve the life of women and children. Even that's my big dream, to support women and children everywhere if they need our support. That's why I did not put the name of Voice of Afghan Women for my organization, because even my dream was start from 1998, when that really we had a difficult time, the time that we were really the most neglected group among the board. We were denied from access to our basic rights, from access to education, and even we were denied from walk to the street. We were restricted from any type of movement. That time Voice of Women has been begun to exist to support the girls' education and to improve the condition of the mothers. That time, that was my commitment, that we shouldn't think only about Afghan women. Today we are supporting Afghan women. One day we will support women around the world, where they don't have voices to raise, where they don't have right like has in Afghanistan. And today my dream is going to happen. And with Traveling Mercy, hopefully we can have an office here, and definitely we will receive your support to help Voice of Women to raise our voices better. Let me just start from my own. Who am I? I'm a mother of 6 children, married at age 14, when I was at the 10th grade at this school. It was not forced marriage, but it was arranged marriage. And really I didn't have any idea to marry and what life looked like after you marry, or I was just a child at the 10th grade at this school, but that was the custom on that time, and even unfortunately still it is in the practice, even in the central of the cities, not in the urban, in the rural area. I have 6 children, 3 daughters, 3 sons. The oldest is 24, and the youngest is 5 years and a half months. I have this skill. I try to build my skill to have the skill of juggling the balls. You know, run Voice of Women organization, be as a mother for 6 children, be as a wife for my husband, and be a strong woman activist, not for women in Afghanistan, maybe one day for women around the world. I start my activities before I was engaged with youth organization, with women organization, but when Taliban took power in the country, and really we became disappointed, and we saw the international community, I was waiting for see the reaction of international community, and we thought that they are going to rescue us within 10 days, within a week, a month, within a year. But unfortunately, that took a long time. 2 years I used to watch CNN and see the international country, the reaction of the world towards women's rights in Afghanistan. When we became disappointed, and I thought we should start. And that time we start the Voice of Women organization, and we put the name of Voice of Women because that time it was very, very necessary to hear about them. Since that time we are working in a different project, in a different area, and all of them are trying to provide legal and social protection for women. Currently, we start from basic education for the girls, for marginalized girls in Kabul, and now we are working on protection side, directly protect women from not being killed by the abusive husband, by the male member in their family. And we have a shelter, safe house, the first women shelter in the western region of the country, or the west part of the country, called Herat, was established in 2006, and still it is open for, we have accommodation for 35 women at one time, but unfortunately always we are full, and we have more than the number that we expected to have. But being as a women activist, as a mother, as a executive director of an organization providing services for women, we are not able to telling them that now we are full, we don't have place for you. We have to provide them, we have to get them in, to come in, and we have to provide them even mattresses when we don't have bed, and we put lots of work in our shoulder to solve their problems. We provide them legal services, start from legal counseling, family counseling, to legal services which they require to the court. If the negotiation is false, if there is no way to reintegrate them back to home, we send them to the court to provide them with defense lawyer, with many other facilities to help them to divorce. Because in Afghanistan, unfortunately, still in the institutional framework and in the legal framework, there has been a considerable change, but it's not happened to in the reality. It is not in the practical practice. Nobody is accepted that. It is not in the implementation stage. If a woman apply for court, first of all, it's like a shame. She's going to put shame in her family name. She have to ignore the family name. She has to finish everything, any type of relation with the family, and then she applied for court. Because the father family, the husband family, both of them were not happy if a woman applied for the court. Because it's still the definition of a good woman is to stay in a violation condition rather than complain against that. Women should be very tolerant, very patient with what is going on, and if they are in a violation condition, they should not speak out about their problems, because they have to think about their father reputation, their brother reputation. If they go to the court, it means that they are playing with their name. She's going to put their reputation down. We provide them with facilities what they need in the court. Try make sure that there is at least equality, because it's still not only non-educated people, the educated people who are working in the judiciary, they don't look well for women. They try to give all the benefit to men, to be a punishment for women and be a lesson learned for the others. One day I was argued with a judge, and I told him that this is not fair, this is not a good decision that you made against this woman. You have to be, at least you have to think about the equality, because in the principle, in the constitution, women and men are equal, and we have to, there is a Human Rights Commission and so on. And he told me, Suraya, you know, if we help women issue in the court, no one will be left at home. All women will come and they will apply from their life, because all of them are at risk. All of them are at the same condition. That's why we give some kind of, we try to give all the benefit to men, because it should be a lesson learned for the other women that they should not apply for court. Because when they see the woman, she applied for court, she lost her children, she lost the property, you know, everything went to the husband, and she became alone, rejected by the family. The woman, the other woman, she is in the same condition, she preferred to stay on that condition. And she said she will think that at least I have relation with my family, at least I have my children around myself, at least I have a reputation in the family, and they have to stay. And the judge told me that he cannot do, because he's quite sure that a number of women are in this condition. If he help them, everybody will apply for court, because it will take a long time. And we start from the position of inequality. We start from the scratch. But we hope one day we can change the mentality of men in our society. One day we can, we can regain our position in the country. Because Afghanistan was not in this condition. It is not culture issue. It is not custom issue. It is by 3 decades war. After 3 decades civil war in Afghanistan, many traumatized people, they faced trauma when it was war in Afghanistan, and the different culture are affected the people, unfortunately, in the negative way, and the lack of governance, law enforcement, and all of them came together and create this condition in Afghanistan. Because if we go back in 1970, 1960, 65, women had more freedom and they had more right than today. That time it was not women get freedom after 2001. Before, women had lots of access to their rights, but before the civil war, before the Mujahideen, before the Taliban time, we had a number of professionals, women professionals in the different levels. We had a high number of women in the medical faculty. And women were in everywhere. Women had right to drive, women had right to speak out, women had right to gather, but unfortunately war took everything from women, and women became in the condition that one day they were denied from their, even from their movement, from walk on the street. But still, a number of organizations working in this regard. We try, all of us, we put our effort to change the life of women, to improve the life of women in Afghanistan. Everyone take one step, but it will take a long time. We are not hopeless. We hopeful for the future of Afghanistan. One day we can bring change. We can improve the life of women. But even for women activists, it is not easy to fight with all challenges which women in Afghanistan are facing. To that, we don't have a security mechanism. We don't have security from government to protect women's rights, women activists from the, unfortunately, from the insecure condition which is at the moment in Afghanistan. Security is getting worse, unfortunately, even worse than 2001, even worse than 2002, and day by day it is getting worse and worse. We don't have any protection. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We try our best to provide security for ourselves. The way that I'm going to the office, I have to change it every day. The time that I'm going to the office, I have to change it every day. Don't go at the same time. And I have to even change the car that I'm going to go to the office. I cannot share my schedule and my program with my staff. But as we committed and as we did it, I dedicated, and I'm willing to do that. I think I have this skill to manage to run the Voice of Women and to help women in Afghanistan. It's not affected, the security is not only for myself, it is even for my family. Sometimes I have to I'm concerned about the security of my son, my daughters, and the way that they are going to this school, because sometimes I receive death threats because of running shelter. Running safe house shelter is really new concept, and it's not accepted by the society. They thought we are going to encourage women to escape from home. We are going to encourage women to stay against their husband. And somehow they call me and they're telling me that for them having a cup of tea is much easier than killing me is much easier for them to have a cup of tea. And they're telling me that easily they can kidnap my son, easily they can kidnap my daughters if I do not stop my activities, because they thought somehow I try to, from their point of view, I try to encourage or bring the Western culture to them and telling everybody that women have this right, you have to stand against your husband and you have to ignore their voices. But in fact, we try to promote the basic right for women to have access to education, have access to talk, have access at least to health services, and have access to justice. But the perspective of the people who are against women's rights is in another way. They thought we are trying to be like a Western woman and encourage the other to. And it's affected my daughters too. I have 3 daughters. The first and second, they grew up a little bit in Kabul. Kabul is the capital of the country. It is a bit open-minded, open area. People are more open-minded than Herat, where now I'm living. And since 2004, when I shift from my office, the main office, and my family and everything, we came to Herat. And the third one, the little girls, grew up a little bit in Herat, which is a bit conservative area. And sometimes she's concerned about my security, she's concerned about my reputation, and she said, you're playing with the fire. It is not a good job for you to do. You cannot change, you cannot bring any change to this society, because she saw her friend's mother, her classmate mother. They wear burqa. They don't talk with men. They don't shake hands with men. They are always just in a completely separate place from men. But she saw her mother every night on the TV, on the newspaper. Her mother is talking with men. She's traveling alone out of the country. And even one day I went with her to shop, to do some shopping. And usually in Afghanistan, when women are buying some things, when they want to have a receipt, when the shopkeepers, because we are paying cash, we don't have any credit card. The shopkeepers definitely ask you about the name should put in the bill or the receipts. And women are saying their son name, mother of Bob, mother of James. They don't say their own name because they take it as shame to how they should say their name to the shopkeeper. When I went with her and we bought some things, the shopkeepers, without asking me, have written Miss Pakzad, and she was very upset when we get back home, and she said, I don't like your job. Even the shopkeepers knows who you are. I don't like to have such mother to be involved in that. Everybody say their son name, and shopkeepers knows your name, who you are. Even he didn't ask you. He was very well aware about who you are. I said, your mother is not a person to be under the burqa. People see my face and they saw me in the TV and different places. And she's completely not happy with what I'm doing. And she said, one day her classmate friends asked her that, what is the reaction of your father when he watching your mother on the TV sitting close to the governor, sitting close to some man in the meeting, and what is the reaction of your father? She said, I try my best to defend and say I'm proud of my mother and this and that. And when she gets back home, and she was cried, and she said, I don't want to criticizing and marked by the students in the class. Every day they're asking me about your job. Why your job should affected me? Why your work should be every question for my friends? And I said to her that it will take time, to change the mentality. Even the educated people who are living in the central of the city, we are living in the central of the city, and her friend and her school is in a very nice place of the city. You can imagine how life is difficult for a mother who is not educated by herself, I'm educated, I have access to everything. My husband is a very supportive person, and I have this opportunity to raise the voices of other women, but still I have to, this is a kind of sacrifice. Not only myself, even my daughter is suffering from what I am doing. That I can say I'm a poet, but sometimes when I have time, besides running Voice of Women, besides having 6 children, besides traveling and a partnership with Traveling Mercies, and I have time, and sometimes I write something. And I wrote a poem for her and explained that what is your mother's job, what we are doing, because she's a bit concerned about my reputation, and she said that people will talk about your name, and I don't like this way, and you should stop. You are like a candle giving light for further. We are around you, you forget us, and you pay more attention for women in the country. You have less attention for us. So many, concerns she has about my future and the way that I'm doing. And even sometimes she asking, even my little boys, asking that many times they ask me this question, and I try to escape from that to answer them. And they ask me that if Taliban come, what you are going to do, Mom? Where you are going to escape? Because Iran doesn't give you visa, because if they are going through Google, you will see you every day in the United States shaking the hand with Condoleezza Rice, with many people in the high-ranking authority, and Pakistan the same will be leading by the Taliban. Where you are going to escape? And it's make me sad, and I thought, the children on that small age, now my daughter is 17, but the boy, my son is just 11, and they have to think about my future. They have to think, well, what's going to happen if Taliban come. Somehow they are concerned about my future, about what I'm doing. Yeah, but women's rights, working for women's rights issue is like a swimming against water. It's not driving on the smooth way. It's like driving in non-smooth way. You have to be very careful about that, and you have to be ready to fight with the challenges which is on your way, because you are aware. You are drive in a way which is fully you are aware, not a good way, maybe not safe way as well. But when you have committed, when you are strong enough to be up to the end and do not leave what you committed for women, and you can't leave them, you cannot forget them. Sometimes I'm thinking if I stop and if I go to some country and I ask them refugee status, and then I will be with my children, and then I think, who will be there to change the society? Who is there to be victim of women's rights? Who is going to pave the road for the next generation of Afghanistan? The next generation will suffer the same that I suffer today. It is not a way that we should go back. It is a way that we have to fight, we have to struggle, we have to push the work to go ahead. It's not easy, but it is possible. One day, hopefully, we will have this. We will regain our position in our country, and definitely we need. Let me to be very grateful and thankful for our friends, brothers, and sisters across the world who stood by us for the very difficult time that we had in Afghanistan. For the Taliban time, we received the support from international community. Although my organization was on volunteer base for a long time, we didn't have any financial support from anyone. But generally for Afghanistan, we received support of all of you. I should really thank all of you who stood behind us for the difficult time of our history. But still, we are not at the end. still we need your support. Please keep your promises, your support, and there is many ways you can support women in Afghanistan. You can be volunteer for our volunteer group here in Philadelphia to organize Voice of Women supporting office. We have planned to have a chapter for Voice of Women with Traveling Mercies here, and we will keep you informed about our progress in Afghanistan. And sometimes we don't want to make you always sad, but sometimes we would like to share our story with you and see, these are the progress, the promotion, and these are still the challenges that we are facing to that. We will keep you informed about that. We will share our voices, which really we need. We're struggling for women's rights, but we need someone just to put the shoulder in our hand, their hand in our shoulder and say, thank you, you're doing well done. We need that kind of encouragement. We need someone to share their willingness, even their voice. It is not only about money. It's about the willingness. It is about we have to be united. We have to have a group of dedicated women and men. We need, particularly the young generation, we are really in need of your support. We need your support. And that is the way of help Voice of Women. And the other way, at the moment, Traveling Mercies is here, and there is their information. And through Traveling Mercies, we will receive their support. If they provide safe water, women in Afghanistan can get benefit directly from their water project. And that's the good way that we can, in short time, in a very shortcut way, we can support the people of Afghanistan. Not going through the bureaucracy of many UN agencies. It will go through your hand to the Traveling Mercies, and through their group or their staff. It will go to the grassroots in Afghanistan, to the needy people in Afghanistan. In a very shortcut way, very easily we can help the people, and definitely we will share with you the pictures and the impact of the project. Hopefully all the projects are, they were with the impact, and they will be with the impact. And through Traveling Mercies we will receive your support. I should appreciate it in advance. And then now I think that's the best time to give you a chance to raise the question. If you have any question about Voice of Women, about myself personally, please don't mind, please. I'm at your service.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, please.
Beyond Kabul and other main cities, how widespread is Taliban's influence?
Since on 2001, everybody was very happy, and we thought the Taliban is finished. We don't have any extremists anymore, any longer more. We are free, and the international community, in particular United States, is committed to support Afghanistan and to free women of Afghanistan from the oppression regime and difficulties that they are facing. But after that, for a while, and at the moment, people are getting disappointed, and we thought the security is not going to be improved. It's getting worse day by day, and in some area it's become under the control of Taliban, and people don't believe them, but people are afraid from the political issue, the politics. You don't know. Today's the government is in the hand of someone, and tomorrow maybe in the hand of someone. Like we have the bad experience. We never even imagined Taliban will take power over all the country, but it's happened, and now we don't know. But it's really a big concern, particularly now. There is a negotiation box is going to be happen, and there is already some negotiation behind the curtains between Afghanistan president and Taliban, which they say that is modern Taliban, and President Obama also welcomed them, and he's agreed with that kind of negotiation. But women organization has a great concern on that issue. If we are not at the table of the negotiation, they are going to provide the same peace which we had in the Taliban time, peace without justice. Unfortunately, we don't want to live in a world where be peace without justice, where is inequality, where is not women's right.
I just wanted to mention that yesterday in Washington, Suraya was filmed in an interview with CNN, and it showed this morning on CNN News, and they're going to show it again tonight. I don't know what time, but it's a 3-minute piece, and it speaks exactly with what the point of the politics that's going on right now. It's very brave and very make these statements, but also has supposed to be cautious. But it's a good piece. Maybe catch it tonight.
Yeah, please.
You mentioned earlier that you had seen CNN. I wondered how widespread that is. Do a lot of women have access to CNN, or is it a rare occasion, or how widespread?
Yeah, it's a good question. Taliban time, before Taliban time, we had satellite. We had that time it was satellite on the roof. You have to put some things on the roof. We had that one, and when Taliban came, we had that escape cover or somehow secretly, we used to watch CNN. It was my, my interest to see, because I thought that is the only way to know the reaction of international country, like BBC and CNN, and mostly CNN, because I was interested to see what is going on. Most of people in Afghanistan, and not very just women who are involved in politics and women activities, they are watching CNN, and the rest of people there is a BBC Persian. They watch the BBC Persian, and they are following the radio, the program of BBC Radio, because it's news from all the world. Yes, please.
How was your Voice of Women organization affected by the recent war in Afghanistan?
By the recent years or war?
The war. What changed with your organization because there was a war going on?
As we are non-politics, non-profitable, and non-religion organization, we seek to improve the condition of women. And also we try to provide some, we try to be part of peace process in Afghanistan. We try to use the voices of women to convince the fighters, of course the Afghan fighters, not Al-Qaeda, not Taliban, because they don't listen to us, they don't give us a chance to talk with them. And we try to raise voices inside the community to convince their mother, to inform, to educate mother, to educate their young children, young sons to do not fight, stop fighting, because Afghan people are joining many anti-government elements or some Taliban in some area where they regrouped again and they are fighting with the government. Just we are on the level of awareness raising, on education, educated the people to inform them about the value of the peace and the hazard of war in the country. Yes, please.
I understand that Karzai really has no support outside of Kabul, or no strength, and that the government is extremely corrupt, and that in part is driving people to the tribal or moderate Taliban. What do you see could change that or improve?
As women organization, I can say that we know that the government is not cannot meet the need of the people, and the government is not on the position. It wasn't, and still it is not on the position to provide peace in the country and provide justice and social services for the people. But for me, as a women activist, as a women organization director, for us the priority for us is security. If any government, Karzai government or anyone, if they can work on the way to provide security and fight with the narcotics and guns, which both of them are not giving a chance for women to raise their voices, it doesn't give chance for anyone to monopolize the power. It is only in the hand of a few, mafia, gun mafia or narcotics mafia. if the government be able to deal with them, we're hopeful that we start to change the situation and the condition of the country. As you know from our story, it is not easy, it is not going to happen overnight. It will take time to have a strong government, it will take time to have a peace in the country. But we should start from today. If Obama administration, if Obama change his policy toward fighting with Al-Qaeda, it will be useful for Afghanistan. Because I would like to say, Afghanistan issue is not issue of Afghan people. It is regional issue, regional issue. It is issue of the region, and it is issue of the world. If they don't pay attention today, as they didn't pay attention on the beginning of the Taliban, and then unfortunately we paid a high price for that. And today, if we don't pay attention, one day again the world will pay high price for that. But I wish never it's happened. You know, we have to think today to prevent any sad story for tomorrow. Because Taliban is not all Afghan people. They're from many countries, and Afghanistan is the hot spot for providing this kind of criminal people or that kind of. It's a hotbed. It's very easy and vulnerable for creating and continue war against any country. It's not against Afghanistan. We have to pay attention today. We have to. It shouldn't ignore, because I heard that the recent discussion is that women issue is not a big issue in Afghanistan. It is culture issue. It is custom issue. Women don't want to change themselves. Why we should spend money in Afghanistan? And United States has its own problem, and we have too much problem by ourselves. We have to pay attention for us. But we are part of the globe. If part of the globe is not peace and secure, it's affected everyone. It doesn't matter if you have a high economic and advanced progress in the country. If we have extremists over there, it will be a problem for the world. There was a question in the back. Yep.
Hi, you had said something about before the Taliban, before the Civil War, how women professionals did exist in Afghanistan in the medical fields and I guess in different fields. So what is it like now for women? Can they work? Can they, after like a girl finishes high school or whatever level of education, what's left for her? Like, what is her future?
Yeah. Today, fortunately, we have many progress on the girls' education, on the higher education for the girls, and then the normal school for the girls. We have universities in many provinces of Afghanistan. The Kabul University, boys and girls can gather, can study together. There is no problem. Women again back to the workforce, and we have 68 women in the parliament. 27% of our parliament. I'm sure higher than the United States in the figure, in the number, but not as strong like women in the United States, because unfortunately their women went by the reservation seats. There were reserved seats for them, and they went there, and they are not strong to stand against the warlords, because majority of our parliament members are still warlords and people who are involved in narcotics. That is the bad part of democracy. People can go by their power. You cannot stop people. Don't go there. There was a room for everyone to run for the parliament, and they ran, because it was the disarmament program, the collecting the guns from the people was not completely finished, and then they announced for the election, and that everybody who had the power, they ran in the parliament, and they won, and now they have the legislature seats, a high number, and women cannot do any. They try, they struggle, they have their presence over there. At least the men will used to see women in the parliament in next election, in next parliament, and hope day by day they become more powerful, and they can stand against the inequality. They can stand against violence against women in the country. There is not a big issue in the central of the city, but the big issue, the sad story is that in some area, and I'm sure you are aware about the acid, they put acid in the face of the girls who were on the way on the Kandahar by one young man. That kind of threat, make everybody scared in the rural area. They try to stop sending their girls to the school. In some area, the girls' school was burned by the Taliban because the extremists and the Taliban thought it is not necessary for girls to go to this school. Girls are going to this school and they are learning the US or the modern philosophy, which is against Islam. It's not good for them to go over there. Not only for the girls, mostly for the girls, even for the boys. The boys' school and the girls' school in many areas, which is under the control of the Taliban, it's already closed down. And even for election in many areas that now there is campaign for the presidential election, in many areas people could not participate to that election. That's another concern. If people cannot take part in the election, how we can be hopeful that election will be people have how people can take part on that when there is no security, when people cannot, when government cannot put the center over there, the boxes over there, and when the people cannot reach that, how we should think that the election be with justice and people can feel or express themselves. Yeah, you have the question.
It has been said that a major portion of Taliban's funds comes from illegal sale of opium. Is that correct?
Yeah, the recent report says that the amount of the illegal business of narcotics is 10 times higher than the money which United States has been spent in Afghanistan. It's a very huge amount.
One more question?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a question.
Despite with the male-dominated politics in Afghanistan and the court system also male-dominated, do you ever get discouraged, and also do you get support, open support from the Afghan society?
Yeah, we start to change our mentality. Before, at the beginning of 2002, many organizations start to provide gender-based violence workshops, seminar, conference for women. Make them inform about their right and talk about women issue. Unfortunately, made them more sensitive. The women expectation has gone up, and the men, the decision-making people, the very powerful person in the family was in the same place that they were before. They haven't changed their mind. They were the same, and women expectation is getting up, and they went with a different opinion to their family, and create so many conflict and problem within the family. 2 years ago, since 2 years ago, we are working on the different way. We try to stop already working with informing women about their rights. We work with men. We try to change the mentality of men towards women's rights, in particular the young generation and the young students in the school and the decision-making people like judiciary system, governor, high-ranking authority, chief of police, the police who are involved in women issue, district leader or community leader, religious leader. We have many type of informal system in the villages, like the community development center, community leaders or different people. We try to change their mentality because they are very powerful people in their area, particularly the religious leaders. Any word come from the mouth of religious leader is immediately accepted by the society. People are following that. If a mullah says that women's right is in the Quran, is this and that, and people are following. If he said nobody should send their girls to the school, tomorrow nobody send their girls to the school because they believe the mullah, believe on the word that he says. We start to change their mentality, and it is very useful, very with a high impact. We saw many changes in many areas where we hadn't support a year ago, and now we see they show up their willingness, and they are helping if there is a woman issue in their area, in the place that they are. But still, it's a long way to go. We have to, have this commitment and passion to continue up to the end.
Maybe we can invite Mr. Magazzeni back to the podium to do a brief introduction to this.
She can do
Would
it.
you like to
Sorry,
introduce
this
the
is going to
DVD?
show a little bit of the shelter.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And then we can
And-
close with a poem that we
Yeah. Yeah, there is a video. I'm so sorry it is not completed, but I got the wrong one from Afghanistan. There was some development and better one, but unfortunately, it is by mistake. It is not completed, but you can see a part of that. There is some pictures from women who living in the shelter, and some of their story, and myself with some talking the same things that I talk now with you. And after that, there is a poem. You will hear the poem which I wrote for my daughter. Thank you. Enjoy seeing that.
Of the shelter where women are living in. It's a few girls in the shelter who talk to each other. Some of the children are born in the shelter. The girls, she was in Iran and she was abused by the gardener where she used to work as an illegal worker. And then when she abused and she was afraid to tell her mother, just ran away. And then by the Iran government deported to Afghanistan, and finally she reached the shelter, and the baby born in the shelter. A woman with 3 children, she ran away from domestic violence. Her family tried to kill her and put her in the electric things, shaking her with the electric. They do some vocational training. Whatever skill they have, we provide the material. For tourism and from mentality, from their psychosocial point, as much as they are busy, they can forget the sad story that they have. And from other ways, we can make money, sell them. We have a small shop. Each of them have their own base, activity. They have the TC program. In the shelter, we provide them teacher, we educate them, make them able to read and write. Although they are not staying there for a long time, but for a short time also we provide them. She learned the Persian.
Where do they go after Suraya if they can't go home?
We try to reintegrate them back home because shelter is not long-term accommodation and solution for them. If they have problem with the husband, we send them back to the father home with support, with the negotiation that we provide.
Okay.
And some of them are afraid of that. Then some other cases because the same things that I said. That's my office. There is my office.
This
Yeah,
is
please.
when Soraya's daughter tried to understand why Suraya was choosing a life that was beyond being even only a mother, or even being miserable. Suraya tried to give her a bigger picture of what it felt like inside her, so she would home to her daughter.
And Suraya said that it's very hard for her to read the poem, so she asked me to do it. I said, oh, well, let's give it to a student, as I'm always doing. Suraya said, no, mother has to read this poem. So I think this is a very fitting way to close this program and to say thank you to you for your work and My name is woman. My daughter, my beloved daughter. You who are my whole life, the passion of my existence. Lately your gaze has lost its light, and I fear you are distancing your heart from mine, ignoring me, even while listening. Do you fear your mother shamed? What frightens you? She who, able and aware, with perseverance her strength, gallops into conflict without fear, she who for love of her country has stirred up waves, and rejecting all the myths, today redraws the boundaries where our identities are worthless. What are you asking, my sweetheart? Your mother does not need a name. Her name is woman. My name, your name, and the names of 1,000 others with unfilled lives. Their names, despised and belittled, are discounted, so many names, just as seals on packs. Do not be afraid, my love. Your mother is not alone. She travels with friends on the path with one thought, one heart, and one journey, beyond name, beyond life, and all are in danger. We shall prepare the path for you and your children. We shall fight now so that you shall survive. We shall die now so that you shall live. A copy of this poem and some postcards and some information about Traveling Mercies are outside. And thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank all of you for